hot, sexy, and loves to ride sideways? That would be me after watching the last episode of Drift Scene. And the best thing about it, there's more of me to come. Buckle up, bitches, because in this episode we are building the sickest drift car this side of the Pacific to take on the world. The world. So let's get this rolling. Mr. VJ, can you press play, please? Thanks, love. What was it like being in your Pontiac GTO for the very first time?
Very first time was 2004. I had spent the previous 6 months flying to Detroit, telling GM this was a sport they needed to be involved in. If they chose to be involved in it, that I was the right guy for the job. By the time I actually convinced them to do that, we had 3 weeks before the event. It was the first time a V8 had been in the sport, the first time that a domestic manufacturer or an automotive manufacturer period had gotten into the sport. It was going to be big for us to make a statement that we are Pontiac, we are here, we are serious.
Tell us what it takes to build a drift car.
We take a car like you would drive on the street, we would drive that car into our shop, the keys would come out of the ignition, it would be on the hoist, the doors would come off, the hood would come off, the roof would come off. Everything would come off that car, every nut and bolt, wire, everything you could think about until it was a bare shell. That shell is then actually sent to a system called an alkali dip. They actually strip all of the paint, all the sealers, everything off the car. We then bring it back to the shop, then we cut off all the excessive metal that we don't need. In the case of the GTO, we take a 3,800 pound car and bring it down to a race weight of 2,800 pounds, 1,000 pounds lighter. That's by removing materials we don't need, changing glass for plastic, changing the suspension out. We would take that stock engine, we would ship it out to a company in Arizona. They would change the key components, the crankshaft, the camshaft, and the heads on the engine, giving us some 500 horsepower of the stock 350. Putting that engine back in the car, testing it, tuning it, tweaking it, playing with the suspension, getting the car dialed into the competition.
Did you guys get that? Tell me about Frank, and why can't you understand a word that comes out of his mouth?
Yeah, Frank Brown.
So Frank, tell us what you're doing right now. That's not the main question. That teach me if only buying 8 feet.
The guys around the shop cannot understand him.
Now I've got all the interior stuff I can still do. You going for me? Because you know where it is. Well, no, I mean, I'd like to get this bit done, so that way I've got power to where I need it.
He was like temporary help for like the last year and a half.
Loopy wasn't here. Yeah, that's true, yeah. Loopy would have all 40 foot.
What you said, I can't believe waiting. What's in there?
What?
We showed up on the Thursday, the race was on the Saturday for the press day, and the bumpers still weren't painted, graphics were only done on one side of the car. We had fired the car at like 2 o'clock that morning, thrown it on the trailer and taken it up to Irwindale. Put it on the track. I had thrown a set up at the suspension at it, and I'm kind of like, let's see what I can do.
I'll be able to tell you straight away either it's too stiff, too soft. I think immediately we want to go softer on rear spring rate.
You want to get more grip?
A lot softer, yeah.
We had a steering issue where the universal coupler on the steering, the bolt was actually hitting the exhaust header and causing the steering to jam, and I would spin.
Oh my God.
So we filed that down and we found out that was an issue.
Rather than make it driftable, we're going to make it drivable.
And then I think like 3 laps later, the engine blew up. No one had slidden a V8 around at high speed at sustained slip angles, and it got low oil pressure, popped the motor.
We finally got the engine and the steering and everything dialed in, and the chassis is just starting to feel awesome. I don't think any engine built to this spec has been put through these conditions, and I think we may have just got a oil starvation and spun a bearing or something like that, but yeah, she's gone.
This is Thursday and we're competing on Saturday. We go back to the shop, we work all Thursday night, we work all day Friday, all Friday night. We have the car back with a new motor in it, the graphics done, the paint done, changed some of the suspension setups, and we're ready to compete. And we actually make it into the top 16 on Saturday. So although the first time on Thursday was a challenge, the reward of actually doing what we set out to do on Saturday was just top of the world.
Wow! Looks like building a world-dominating drift car is harder than it looks. And the boys at RMR have their work cut out for them to get ready for the competition. Next time on Drift Scene, we see how Reese competes with some of the world's top drivers. In the meantime, I'm your host, Jamie Chung, telling you to strip your car down, keep it floored, and keep it sideways.